Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Edward Elgar Publishing Limited. They are a family firm who specialise in a whole series of actually very high-level academic publications mainly. They also have a substantial portfolio of titles on intellectual property, and they do look very much at emerging areas of the world. The book we're looking at today has got the title Innovation and Intellectual Property in China, and it's been edited by two people. I do apologise in advance for the pronunciations. Ken Shao and Xiaoqing Feng, if I have got the names correctly pronounced. Now, my wife Elizabeth and I have written a review of this work, but let's have a look at the book first of all. This is the one here. It's only it's a hardback, and it's got a subtitle, Strategies, Contexts and Challenges. There's the front cover of it there. It's Innovation and Intellectual Property in China. There's the spine, and then there's the back of the book there. And there's some comments about it. Probably can't see them in too much detail, but you've got some idea. It's not a big book at all. It's running to 260 odd pages. There's a relatively short index at the back, just to show you a little bit more, get some idea of it there. Then after that, you've got the actual chapter headings themselves. We're looking at one right at the back at the moment. The International Enclosure of China's Innovation Space. That's the title there. It's got the name of the contributor, then there's an introduction. There's a lot of footnoting, which is very helpful. You've got a little bit of numbering, and paragraph numbering, anything like that. Then at the end, you've normally got some sort of conclusion. Yes, so on the very last page, you've got a conclusion. Again, a little bit more of footnoting, very much in the academic high style, which I'm grateful for because these books are where the law can be found. That is the main heading, front page if you like. Then the content section, 10 chapters with an index at the back. You can see what is there. A list of contributors, a lot of them, of course, just to show you some more contributors there. Then you've got a foreword by Graham Dutfield, which is worth reading to get an idea of what this book is all about. And then you go straight into the first of the chapters by Ken Shao, which is that one there. As I say, an interesting book. Intellectual property is now with us in a big way, and it's going to remain for a long period to come, I'm sure. What we're talking about here, though, and we've given it the title, Insider Perspectives on Intellectual Property Strategies in China. And I think it's fair to say, before we even start, that for many people, China's an unknown potential even now. We don't know much about some of the things they do. Many people have got very little idea of what really goes on, apart from what we may see, because a lot of it's a bit of a closed society. But of course, we are in a global community. The internet has seen to that, and we've therefore got to look very much ahead at what we're going to be facing in the future, because China is a massive economy, no question about it. So Elizabeth and I have looked at this book and have some thought about it, and we decided to say the following as our review, and it's available on the web and in the journals. We say, quote, "A holistic perspective can dramatically reduce foreign concerns," says Ken Shao, who co-edits this important new book from Elgar on China's intellectual property and innovation strategies, which in the opinion of many have fueled China's emergence as a global innovation enthusiast. And I think that's a very fair comment to say as we record this review at the end of 2014, with some probably fairly substantial changes taking place in 2015 with a general election in the United Kingdom, and obviously in 2016 presidential elections in the United States of America. Now, according to Professor Shao, who's Professor of Law at the University of Western Australia, China has developed, alongside its burgeoning economy, a National Innovation System, NIS, that strategically supports what is referred to as self-driven innovation. This book attempts to examine and explain the various characteristics and challenges facing China's innovation and IP strategies, which continue to develop under the aegis of NIS, the National Innovation System. The book has been co-edited by Xiaoqing Feng, I hope that's pronounced correctly, a professor of law at the China University of Political Science and Law in Beijing. The overall aim of the book is to present a diverse range of carefully chosen views and information from a variety of Chinese intellectual property authors, each providing an insider perspective to an English-speaking readership. Usefully, these discussions are followed by the opinions and commentary of a number of international authors, and that's the theme that they've adopted with this style of this book. The book, therefore, is a joint creation of over a dozen expert contributors from China, Australia and the US, UK and Ireland, a holistic treatment indeed of this wide-ranging but by no means widely understood subject. Remember one thing, the Australians are involved in this in a pretty big way because of their location, where China is, and the Pacific. So you've got the Pacific Rim all the way around as well. So what we're looking at in the UK and in the European Union is probably very different, unless you've actually been to that part of the world and seen that things are really very different. And as we start becoming much more global, obviously there's going to be a lot more merging of some aspects of what we do, notwithstanding all the political differences in terms of capitalism, communism and so forth. But this book is not at all about politics. It's looking specifically at the concepts of innovation and IP, and I think they've been very successful in doing that. Bound to be people who criticise, but I think they've done pretty well here. A mere glance at the table of contents, therefore, indicates its diversity and its scope. From perspectives on China's national innovation system itself, to a chapter on Chinese judicial practice on intellectual property, and do note the chapter on foreign research and development in China. As I said at the beginning, I think one of the problems here is we may have some preconceived ideas about what's going on in China at the moment. I hope this book will offer some idea of where we are, which is balanced and fair. Because that's the way forward, because otherwise whatever is said could be construed possibly as a criticism, and that's not meant to be the case at all. What I'm trying to do is to set the statements out as to where we are at the moment. That's what the editors have done, and I think they've been successful with that. One of the comments made about this volume is that foreign governments, as well as lawyers in particular, and the global business community in general, have not in the past properly understood China's still evolving transformation from a purely manufacturing economy to one based on innovation. And that's the key to where we're going in the 21st century, in my view, and that of my wife as well, of course. If this is a genuine misunderstanding or misapprehension concerning China's economy and its prevailing intellectual property policies, this book will no doubt play a useful role in setting the record straight, to some extent anyway, about these matters, and that's what I hope it does. Certainly the book reveals a number of insights into the various factors that really do facilitate and drive China's economic miracle. And we cannot stress too strongly that we are looking at China being a very major player. The biggest blocks really are the EU and the US and China. Russia's there, certainly, but China's a huge, and as I said before, unknown potential, and it's something that we've got to understand more about. This is what this book offers us by way of an insight, and thank you to them for it. Let me end by saying academics, researchers and intellectual property lawyers, certainly internationally, whether involved directly or indirectly with clients doing business in China, will find this timely publication with its insider perspectives eminently useful, and the law publication date is cited as at 2014, so it's pretty much up to date with what's happening at the moment, as much as we know. That's the book again, hardback, the back of it there, and then just opening it up anywhere. This is China's Judicial Practice of Intellectual Property. Again, you've got a structure and you've got some footnotes, a lot of academic detail, And I do think it helps. I mean, one has to get into the subject matter and understand some of the names. According to the resolution of the National People's Congress, the NPC, Standing Committee on Strengthening the Legal Interpretation Work, hereinafter the resolution and the provisions of the law of China, on the organisation of the People's Courts, hereinafter the Court Organisation Law. You see again the wording. There's a lot of detail in that, a lot of words about, we've then got to try and work out, they say, the Supreme People's Court. And what we have to try to do is identify what that means in a purely practical sense and how we can identify with what they're talking about. I think it's an excellent contribution to where we're going, and I'm sure this subject is going to be with us for a considerable period of time in the 21st century. So thank you to the two editors. Thank you to Edward Elgar in particular. You always maintain the highest standard, and you have with this book, certainly. It's an excellent one again. Thank you to all concerned. Bye-bye.